good, everybody? It's your boy, the Kitchen. We're back in another video. We're here to talk about. I'm center myself with my phone. I'm here to talk about the game, or do a game preview between Michigan, number 8, number 2, UCLA. UCLA is going on the road to Crisler Arena to play the Wolverines, which this game is interesting for a lot of reasons. I think this game is one of those games. This is probably. Let me look at the rest of UCLA's schedule. I mean, I'm sure there's some more big games on their schedule because they play in the Big Ten. They play Indiana after this. Washington is a ranked game. Wisconsin. And then USC to end the year. So actually, they only have... Oh, Michigan State as well, sorry. Michigan State, they play Wednesday. So their next two games are probably their two biggest games of the regular season, or last two big games of the regular season. So if they win both of those games, I feel like they're a number 1 seed. Even if they don't win the conference tournament, I think they're a 1 seed. Now, if they're a 2, 3, or 4 number 1 seed, that's to be determined by how they finish in the conference tournament, how they finish the rest of these games. But if they're able to beat Michigan and Michigan State, I think they're in that 1 seed conversation. I think if Michigan is able to win this game, they are firmly in that 2 seed conversation. I think even with the loss here, if it's a close game, I think Michigan probably stays in the top 10 because based on the way that rankings have gone this year, if you're losing to a top team or a team that's close to you in rankings, you don't fall as far, which is a little different than past years. So my rankings haven't looked the exact same, which I don't really want them to, but my rankings have looked a little different. Like when teams lose 2 in a row, I give that I move them down a little bit further, but I think they've given, I don't want to say context, but depending on who they've lost to, that's what they've given them grace on that. But I will say, I think both teams can win this game. I think this being a home game for Michigan is huge because Michigan's only lost 1 game in conference play, and that was to, I feel like I should remember this. I know once I see it, I'll be like, oh yeah, they did. Oh, they lost to Washington. Yep. They lost to Washington by 12 at Washington. That was a very good game for Washington. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was the game that Avery Howe had like a phenomenal game on both sides of the floor. So Washington's another one of those sleeper teams that I'm looking at. But then when you have Michigan, they have Northwestern after this. They have Michigan State again, which that game came down to the wire. And they have Michigan State, Iowa, Ohio State, and Maryland to end February. And that's how they end their season. They don't have a game in March. So even if they lose this game, they still have a chance to solidify a 2 seed. I think, I don't want to say run the table, because running the table after, if they were to lose to UCLA, running the table would mean beating Michigan State, Iowa, Ohio State, and Michigan, Maryland, all within 13 days. That's a lot to do. I will say, the Michigan State and Iowa game has a week in between it. Like, it's a Sunday to Sunday. And then they play that Ohio State game that next Wednesday. And then they play Maryland that Saturday. 2 of them are home games. 2 of them are road games. So, based on what we've seen, I wouldn't put it past them to go 4-0 in that stretch. But it's a lot to ask. But let's talk about the game. Let's talk about like the matchups and things like that. I love what Olivia Olson has done this year. I think she has a very good chance of winning Big Ten Player of the Year. I would have to like really sit down and look at the numbers for all the teams, and maybe that's something I'll do this week of like picking the conference players of the years. But I think Olivia Olson has been one of the best guards / wings in the country. I think she's shown up in big games. I think Silas Swords has as well. But I think Olivia Olson's consistency on both sides of the floor has been huge for them, and I think this is a game where you're gonna need both Olivia Olson and Silas Swords to play phenomenally, both on both sides of the floor, because they have to guard, Gianna Neekins, they have to guard Gabby Hodges, they have to guard Kiki Rice, they have to guard Charlize Ledger-Walker, and obviously there's other players on the court that have to do it as well, like Mila Holloway. I think Kendall Dudley playing against her former team, I think that's a big setting for her, a big game for her, because I don't want to say she felt like she didn't get what she wanted at UCLA, because I do think she got a good I do think she got a good amount of minutes. Hopefully that sound wasn't bad before I put that down. She did get a good amount of minutes, but obviously she probably she didn't have the role that she wanted, and she probably wasn't gonna have the role that she wanted this year with them bringing in players like Gianna, bringing in Sienna. You still have Dugalich there. Like there wasn't gonna be a lot of space for her to play with a lot of the players that came back or came in. But I think what Michigan has done with her, allowing her to be just a defensive weapon, athletic weapon, I think is huge for them. And having that around players that are super versatile offensively, like Olivia Olsen and Silas Orr, also Mila Holloway that can shoot the ball really well, Taylor Delphos, who is super versatile as well. And then you have Sofia Kanic, who has been really good for them, I believe. I think her coming from, I think it was, I don't want to say for sure and be wrong, but I'm pretty sure she came from, I know the school starts with a B, but I'm stuck between two schools. One second. Now it's loading really slowly. Before it was moving fast. It's either Belmont or Boston College. If it's not one of those, I'll feel really dumb. But either way, I think she's been really good, especially in the Michigan State game. She had a huge role in them winning that game. She was at, this thing literally just started moving super slow. Bucknell. I knew it was a B. I don't know why I thought it was Belmont. I definitely don't remember seeing her play at Belmont. But I think for UCLA, I think their keys continue to be being able to get Lauren Betts the ball, making open shots. With Gabby Hodges shooting the ball the way she has, Gianna Neekins has always shot the ball at a super high level. Charlize Fletcher-Walker has been a great point guard, especially in transition. She's done a good job of balance of like finding players and being able to just get to the rim and figure something out. They have 4 players averaging over 13 points. Then you still have Dugalich averaging almost 10. Charlize Fletcher-Walker's averaging 9. Sienna's averaging 7 since she's made her debut. And you wouldn't think, but this team has good depth. Like, they can even play Lena Bilic. They play Lena Bilic quite a bit. So they're able to play 3 players off the bench and feel comfortable playing them off the bench. And then when you have 4 guards in the starting lineup, it makes it a little bit easier to keep 2 of those guards in, so you don't necessarily have to bring in other players, if that makes sense. Like, you can leave Kiki and Gabby in and then bring in Bilic or Dugalich or Sienna, and you can still have 2 guards out there. So I think them being able to do different lineups helps them in a matchup like this as well. I don't know if the physicality will be an issue for Michigan because they play really good defense, in my opinion, and they are good at getting in passing lanes and making you make bad decisions. I'm not saying I don't think UCLA will necessarily make bad decisions, but I think if this is a game where UCLA isn't necessarily like knocking down open shots consistently, I think this is a game where Michigan could, I won't say steal it because they'd be on the road, but it's a 2 versus 8, and UCLA only has one loss this year. So, and granted, Michigan only has 3, and one of those being the UConn. So, yeah, I feel like this game is a very important game for both teams, but I also feel like it's important for a few players too. Like I mentioned earlier, the player of the year. Like, this is one of those games where like you make a statement, you put your name in, like you firmly put your name in the hat for player of the year. And Lauren Betts hasn't had the year that she's probably won it. I think she's still been really good, but she hasn't been as dominant as she was the last 2 years. And I think some of that has to do with like just having more players around her that are able to do things, and Gabby Hodges taking a step, Gianna Neekins being there and just being super efficient and being able to help out offensively. And I think she understands like she doesn't have to do as much as she did the last couple of years. Like the last couple of years, it was very, very dependent on, all right, you got to get Lauren Betts the ball, force them to double, kick out, make shots. Now they're able to play a different way, but they're able to score and they're able to succeed in multiple ways. They don't necessarily have to have the ball in Lauren Betts' hands for there to be a good offensive possession. Obviously, you would love for it to go there, but it doesn't have to be like every time you come down. But like if you get 4 or 5 possessions without her getting the ball, that's when you're looking and you're like, all right, we got to get her the ball, figure some things out, something like that. But The matchups I'm interested in seeing is like who Olivia Olson and Silas Swords are going to guard. I would assume Gianna and Gabby. I think you put Mila on Kiki Rice, and I think Kendall Dudley can be like a roamer. Like I don't mind them putting like Kendall Dudley on. I wouldn't mind them putting Kendall Dudley on Charlie Fletcher Walker, putting a little bit of size and length on her, because she's not like a knockdown 3-point shooter. She can make the three, but she's not a knockdown 3-point shooter. Obviously, you have Corliss Daniels as well. But I think Kendall Dudley will play a good amount of minutes, and she'll have a impact on this game. So I think there's some stuff she can do defensively that can help them out with her guarding like Fletcher Walker, and maybe being able to go help and be aggressive and, what's the word I'm looking for? Gamble a little bit. But I am curious to see who Olivia Olson and Silas Swords guard, because the Silas Swords and AZ Fudd matchup was really fun. Olivia Olson and Sarah Strong matchup was really fun. And I think some of these matchups could be very similar. And most of UCLA's players are going into the WNBA this offseason, if there's a WNBA season. And these other two, or Sila and Olivia, are both sophomores. So being able to see this matchup, it's kind of like, I won't say a glimpse into the future, but it's the more that we get to see Michigan play against these other top teams that have WNBA talent, we get to see how they match up against, players, or we get to see how they're going to match up against players that are going to be in the WNBA. So that's another thing I'm looking at. Obviously, Kisofo Kanich, Del Foss, can they slow down Lauren? Like, what is the game plan for Lauren Betts? You don't necessarily have a player or two or three that can just, stay behind her, try to make the shots tough. I think Sofa Kanich has a chance. I don't think it's like out the water, like, oh, she's just gonna get, fried down there. But I think it's definitely gonna be tough if they decide to play her 1-on-1. So obviously you're gonna have to double, but who are you doubling off of? And is UCLA making the right decisions out of those double teams is the question. But yeah, this game I'm looking at Olivia Olson, I'm looking at Silas Swords, I'm looking at Gianna Neekins, and I'm looking at Gabby Jaquez. I'm also looking at Kiki Rice. Kiki Rice more so for decision making decision making when necessary, making the shots that or taking good shots and being efficient with the shots that she takes. I think she's been a lot better this year with that. I think I've seen a lot of people have kind of said that they've compared her to like Zia Cook when she was at South Carolina. Of like, she's either going to be really good or she's going to be bad, and there's really no in between. I think this year there's been more of, if she's not really good, she's still good. She's just not, overarching, playing phenomenally. But I think Kiki Rice has done a better job this year of, if she's not shooting the ball well, still being able to do things, or just not, forcing shots and stuff like that, not making bad decisions. I think she's done a really good job with that. If I had to predict a winner, it's a tough one because I like both of these teams a lot. I'm going to go with UCLA. I'm going to give them the edge just because they've given me the reason to give them the edge. I mean, they've only lost one game this year, and that game they lost to Texas was really early in the season. I think that was still in November, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was in December. It was in, I'm looking at UCLA schedule. It was in November, because that was before, that was like Thanksgiving weekend or whatever. But they've also got wins. Like I said, they got wins over Oklahoma. Oklahoma has beat LSU. Did Oklahoma beat LSU? Oklahoma didn't beat it. They beat South Carolina, I'm sure. Texas and Oklahoma play very soon. I think they play this week. So it'll be interesting to see how a lot of these matchups over the next couple of weeks play out, especially at the Big Ten, with Michigan having some tough games to end the regular season and UCLA having, I don't want to say an easy schedule, but they should be able to breeze through it if they get through this game and finish the regular season with just one loss. Obviously, conference tournament is different. You never know what's going to happen on a given night because it's a one-game situation, but I feel pretty confident in them being a 2 or 3 1 seed, depending on how the season goes, because South Carolina still has to play LSU. Texas has to play Oklahoma. Texas has to play, I think, Vandy. There's a few teams they had to play, but that's neither here nor there. We're talking about Michigan and UCLA. But I think I'm going to go with UCLA this game. I think Gianna Neepkins is the X factor in this game. I think she's just built for games like these where it's not going to be easy to score it all. Like, you're going to have to buckle down and, like, really get the shots that you want. And I don't think there's a better I don't want to say I don't think there's a better player, but I don't think there's 3 better players in the country at getting to their shot and making their shot than Gianna Neepkins. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you tap in with the game today. It's at 3 p.m. on Fox before the Super Bowl, so you don't got to worry about trying to watch both. But, yeah, make sure you guys tap in with that. Appreciate y'all.